Welcome to the very first episode of Empowerment Evolution. I'm excited to be kicking off this series with you. We'll be going in depth on the Army Reserve's Holistic Health and Fitness System, or H2F.
That's right.
You know we're going to be unpacking what it is,
Yeah.
how it works,
Mm-hmm.
and what it means for you.
Exactly.
So think of this deep dive as your guide to thriving in every aspect of your life.
Absolutely. H2F is all about empowering you to be your best self. It's not just about passing a fitness test, it's about building a foundation for long-term health and well-being.
Yeah, it's a way of life. And to guide us through this, we have our resident H2F expert here with us.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been digging into a stack of resources,
I have.
a LinkedIn blog post,
Uh-huh.
a memorandum outlining roles and responsibilities,
Yes.
a leader brief,
Mm-hmm.
and an academic review.
Yeah.
There's a lot out there.
There is. There's a ton of information about H2F, but we're going to break it down and highlight what's most important for you.
Exactly. Now, one thing that really stood out to me was this concept of an H2F integrator, or H2FI.
Right.
This isn't just a random acronym. This is an actual dedicated role within units
Yes.
to make H2F successful. So what's your take on that?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the H2F-Integrator, or H2FI, is designed to be a resource for soldiers at all levels, and they're not there to add more tasks to your plate. They're really there to help you navigate the H2F system and achieve your personal best.
Yeah, like a personal trainer, but for your whole life.
That's a great way to put it. They're there to bridge the gap between the H2F performance teams, the command staff, and you. They're your advocate, making sure the system works for you.
That makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Now let's get into the specifics of what these H2FIs actually do. The memorandum we have lays out their responsibilities pretty clearly. They're champions, educators, support providers, data collectors, and collaborators. What does all that mean?
And each of those roles is directly tied to your success. For example, as a champion, the H2FI should be embodying the principles of H2F, walking the walk, and inspiring others to do the same.
Leading by example. Yeah, it's one thing to talk the talk, but it's another thing to actually see someone living those principles.
Yeah.
That makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. And they're educators breaking down sometimes complex H2F concepts into practical skills that you can actually use in your everyday life.
Right.
They provide support, helping you create a personalized plan and connect you with the resources you need to be successful,
Right.
whether it's nutrition guidance or stress management techniques or sleep hygiene tips.
So they're really meeting you where you're at.
Exactly. They're not just focused on the 39 days, those dedicated training periods. They're thinking about the other 28 days of the month as well, right? So
Yeah.
helping you bridge the gap between the structured H2F support that you get during training and then your everyday life.
So it's not just a program, it's a lifestyle.
Exactly. That's a really important distinction.
Now, one of the other things that was in the memorandum as a responsibility for H2FIs was this idea of data collection.
Yeah,
And that might sound kind of dry,
it can.
but it's actually pretty crucial, right?
It is. Because by tracking progress and identifying areas for improvement, that H2FI is ensuring that the system is constantly evolving
Okay.
to meet the needs of soldiers.
It's like you're giving them feedback.
Exactly. And finally, they're collaborators, working closely with leadership to ensure that H2F is integrated seamlessly into unit operations. They're advocating for you, removing barriers, and creating a culture where health and well-being are truly valued.
Now, the leader brief we have also sheds some light on how commanders are expected to support H2FIs.
Yes.
And it emphasizes that this H2FI duty shouldn't just be another task thrown on top of everything else.
Exactly.
It should be a clearly defined responsibility.
Yes,
Integrated into a soldier's existing MOS or duties.
that's a critical point.
So commanders are tasked with empowering H2FIs and fostering a culture that supports their efforts.
Yeah.
They're responsible for creating an environment where health and fitness are woven into the fabric of the unit.
Absolutely.
So it's about setting the tone from the top down and making it clear that this is a priority. Now, we've talked a lot about the H2FI and their crucial role, but they're not working in a vacuum, right?
Right.
H2F is a system with multiple moving parts working together.
That's right. We've got the H2F performance teams, command support, digital resources and tools, and community partnerships. It's this whole interconnected web designed to support your well-being.
It's like an ecosystem where all the different elements work together to create a thriving environment.
Okay.
Okay, so we've met the H2FI, explored their roles, and glimpsed the larger H2F ecosystem. But there's still so much more to uncover.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to Empowerment Evolution.
Okay, so we've kind of laid the groundwork here. We've introduced you to your H2F integrator. We've kind of given you a little bit of a glimpse at this overall system. But let's get into like the nitty-gritty, like what makes this tick, especially for those of us in the reserve. You're right, the reserve environment presents unique challenges and opportunities when it comes to implementing H2F. And the academic review we have really digs into that, highlighting things like the limited training time that we have, the geographic dispersion, and also the fact that, a lot of our soldiers have civilian lives and jobs and commitments
Right.
that can make it tough to prioritize H2F.
Yeah, it's like you're acknowledging the reality that we can't just switch on H2F during drill weekends
Exactly.
and then just like forget about it the other 28 days of the month.
Exactly. And that's where the H2FI becomes even more crucial because they are that bridge between that structured support that you get during training and then your everyday life, helping you figure out, okay, how do I actually integrate these principles
Right.
into my routine,
Yeah.
into my daily life?
Now, the review uses this great example. It says, okay, let's say you're struggling with sleep, which is, a pretty common issue. Your H2F, I
Yeah.
can help you with that. They can help you to identify resources, develop some better sleep hygiene habits,
Yes,
even track your progress all outside of those drill weekends.
absolutely. And I think that's a perfect example of how H2F is really about a lifestyle approach to well-being. It's not just a program, right? We're talking about giving you the tools and the knowledge and skills to really take care of yourself no matter what,
Right.
no matter what life throws at you.
Now, all this sounds fantastic,
Yeah.
but I'm sure some listeners are wondering, how do we know this actually works? Like, are there tangible results?
That's where this academic review gets really interesting. It lays out 13 ROI metrics that demonstrate the effectiveness of H2F.
Yep.
And these aren't just feel-good measures. These are really tied to tangible, measurable outcomes like improved ACFT performance, reduced injury rates, increased retention, even a higher overall quality of life.
Let's dive into a few of those that I think will resonate with our listeners.
Okay.
First up, sleep quality. I mean, we all know
Yeah.
how important sleep is, but how does H2F actually measure and improve that?
So they're using a combination of self-reported data, like sleep duration and quality scores, and more objective measures, like maybe wearable technology, to track your sleep patterns and identify areas for improvement. It's about making those invisible patterns
Right.
visible.
It's about connecting the dots
Yeah.
between your habits and how well you're sleeping.
Yes.
Because if you don't connect those dots, you can't change anything.
Absolutely. And your H2F, I can work with you one-on-one to personalize strategies for improving your sleep hygiene, whether that's creating a consistent bedtime routine, adjusting your sleep environment, or even addressing underlying stress and anxiety that may be contributing to poor sleep.
Now, the review also highlights body composition as a key metric.
Yes.
What does that look like in practice?
It's about understanding your body composition in a holistic way, right? Going beyond just stepping on a scale, we're looking at things like body fat percentage, using tools like in-body scans, tracking entries and exits from the ABCP, the Army Body Composition Program. And the goal is to use all of that data to help you create a personalized plan that works for you, whether that's a nutrition plan, an exercise program, or addressing any underlying health concerns that may be impacting your body composition.
Now, all these metrics, ACFT scores, body composition, sleep quality, they all tie back to this bigger picture
They do.
of quality of life, right?
Absolutely. And that's another key metric that H2F tracks very carefully. They use a combination of quantitative data like surveys and questionnaires, but also qualitative data like open-ended feedback and interviews to get a really well-rounded understanding of how is H2F actually impacting your overall well-being, mentally, emotionally, socially. It's about feeling empowered to live your best life. And I think that's really at the core of what H2F is all about.
Welcome back to Empowerment Evolution. As we wrap up this deep dive into H2F, I want to touch on something that's been kind of resonating with me, this idea of a mindset shift.
Yes.
We've talked about, tangible results, but how do you measure that? Like, how do you measure that intangible shift toward a more proactive approach to well-being?
You've hit on a really key point because you're right. Measuring a mindset shift is really challenging because it's not as simple as, tracking physical changes or, performance on a test. It really is about a much deeper transformation in how we view health and fitness. And the academic review acknowledges that, some of the most important outcomes of H2F are really difficult to quantify.
Yeah, we're talking about things like self-awareness, a sense of purpose, improved coping skills,
Yeah.
a connection to your unit or your community. These are all incredibly valuable things,
Yep.
but how do you put that on a spreadsheet?
Exactly. And, just because it's hard to measure doesn't mean that it's not real or impactful.
Yeah.
And so the review really emphasizes that we have to use a mix of quantitative and qualitative data to really capture this full picture.
Okay.
So, in addition to the surveys and questionnaires that we talked about, they also highlight the value of open-ended feedback,
Uh-huh.
focus groups, interviews, really giving soldiers a chance to tell their story in their own words.
So you're really seeing the human impact of H2F
Exactly.
and recognizing that, that mindset shift.
Mhm.
It's not a one-time thing.
Right.
It's a process.
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
takes time. It takes sustained effort, support. It's almost like you're planting seeds and then nurturing those seeds over time to really create an environment where they can grow and flourish.
So as we wrap up, I want to challenge our listeners to take what they've learned
Yes.
and actually put it into action. Reach out to your H2FI,
Mm-hmm.
explore those resources,
Yes.
and build a more empowered you.
And remember, H2F is not just about meeting standards. It's about investing in your well-being, unlocking your full potential, and building that foundation for a healthier, more resilient life. This is just the beginning of our journey together on empowerment evolution, so stay tuned. We've got a lot more to explore, a lot more deep dives into the world of H2F coming your way.
Until next time, be well and stay empowered.